Today is the 25th of January 2021, and this is my 20 minutes presentation for the Trust Technique Practitioner course. If you want to stop feeling nervous around your horse, this is for you. So many people want to treat their horse in a friendly and respectful way, but they just can't find a way how. In the world of horses, there are thousands of different problems and also thousands of different solutions. Did you try many of them? Do you have those special magic moments with your horse but you don't know how to maintain them? And do you believe that horses are unique, sensitive and emotional beings who should be treated without force and dominance? Then maybe now is the time to walk the talk. There is a way of bringing your values and your actions into alignment. My name is Dr. Iris Schubert. I worked as a physician in Sweden and Austria and changed to human energetics during the maternity leave of my 3 children. My hobby was horsemanship until the dream of combining my hobby and my work developed. But something was really missing to combine the healing work of people with animal training. At the same time, I often disagreed with the way horses were treated in my training, even though I had already chosen really sensitive methods. What was missing was trust and relationship, which I found in the trust technique. It is a technique that really builds a relationship with animals and can also help people to overcome their own problems and traumas. Therefore, I believe that this method will certainly help me to realize my dream, and I am sure it will help you to realize yours. In my presentation today, I will be covering the following topics: what the trust technique is, a brief outline of its history, and the 3 main principles: creative reaction, realization learning, and trusted cooperation, and the purpose and benefits of the trust technique consultation. To understand the development of the trust technique, James French shared the story of his childhood with us, which is a very touching story about the nature of forgiveness. Although his childhood was full of pain and not being understood, today he looks back with peace from the bottom of his heart. This is because his experiences have led to his deep connections with the animals. He said that the animals actually performed the trust technique with him when he was emotional and upset. He can also relate a lot to the fact that animals were scolded for things they did not do just because the person responsible for them was emotional or even aggressive. If you are not heard, you can either develop your own coping strategies, which is not always the healthiest way to deal with problems, or you can find your own path to emotional healing within yourself, as James did with his animals. As a result of his childhood experiences and his work with Reiki and animal communication, James French developed the trust technique together with his wife Shelley Slinger. It is a method of working with animals through mindfulness, and it can solve problems for the person, for the animal, and for both together. What I love about this method is that it does not work through fear, but by bringing the individual and the animal into the present moment and bringing the levels of thinking down. The trust technique recognizes that when you are in a peaceful state, the animal will feel this and see you as someone who helps it feel peaceful as well. This will deepen your relationship to your pet. It is now the time to step out what James calls a really old, rusty, smelly wet box that contains terminology such as, "We must be the boss of the animals. If you get off your horse when it's afraid, you have lost a battle. The animals want to trick you. Do not take them seriously." Outside of this framework, we realize that we can really connect with the animals and that we can really listen to them. This will build trust for both of you, and with this trust and confidence, the time you spend with your horse will be enjoyable again. In my life, I have seen people who did not know that they had trained a horse for days, weeks, or even months that was lame. Just because it doesn't cry or scream, and people never really looked at the animal and didn't listen to it. I have seen people yelling at their dog every day. The trust technique is different. It is all about relationship. It's about being calm enough with each other so that we can really feel, tune into each other, and connect. A method of reducing thinking levels to promote trust, connection, confidence, and communication. There are three basic principles of the trust technique. It's creative reaction, realization learning, and trusted cooperation. Let me explain all three of them. First, creative reaction. It is the understanding that animals and humans share feelings. They pick up the feelings of the other in three different ways. The first one, for example, you are stressed in your job and you come home and meet your dog. He will pick up on your feeling, feel stressed too, and start chewing on the couch. This will upset you even more because of that the dog will get even more stressed too. So there is a mutual reinforcement taking place. The second way creative reaction takes place is that you have a rescued dog who went through a lot of stuff. He will show behavior you don't like and didn't expect. This will upset you, the dog will pick up on that feelings, and this will trigger you both again to very high thinking levels. The third way is that you buy this one special dog you had this special feeling about. You had to have exactly this dog. This strong bond between you was created because you had similar traumas in your past. It is a special bond that connects the two of you, but it can also increase the levels of stress and fear, as in example 1 and 2. Creative reaction in the trust technique is used in the opposite way. The human creates a low thinking state, what we call the present moment. And as the animal reacts, it will lower its thinking levels automatically. With high thinking levels, you will see the world in a stressful and fearful way. With low thinking levels, however, you see reality as it is, without fear and stress. And this stage the animal can learn, build trust and confidence, and even get into a deep healing state. The practical application of creative reaction is working what we call mindful regard. This is not only the ability to bring another's mind down, but also the ability to go at the pace that is right for the animal. Sometimes, if they hold a lot of anxiety, it will be hard for them to feel peaceful. Mindful regard is a listening state which allows the practitioner to bring the mind of the animal down, recognizing when the animal's mind increases and responding to this by actively thinking about the animal, which in turn matches the animal thinking levels. This is held until the animal comes back to the mindset before their thinking activity increased. Then to reapply the present moment and bring the animal's mind further down into a non-thinking state. This regard is the key to working at the animal's pace and is the fastest and most integral way to help an animal to find peace with human relationships. In the trust technique, we work with the 4 P's, which are peace, patience, persistence, and purpose. Peace is the present moment. Patience is the ability of letting the animals express themselves while listening to them, even if their expression is fear, aggression, or something like that. Persistence is to carry on the peace and the patience until the animal can let go the old thoughts. The fourth P is that it is all done in the light of purpose, which is that we as practitioners are there to help. The second of the three basic principles of the trust technique is realization learning. It helps to change the animal's emotional behavior in letting them learn that there is nothing to be afraid of. Previously, their mind would have been at a high level of thinking, what makes them very involved in the problem they have. They would have taken their own fear responsibility, where they have very little ability to listen. This creates a negative repetition of unwanted behavior. Realization learning understands that if we bring the mind down when it would normally be high, then the being in question will experience the same situation with a more relaxed outlook. This creates an atmosphere in which self-learning and new understanding can occur simply and easily, because it's in a different state of mind. You can't force an animal to be confident, but within the trust technique, you create an atmosphere where they can learn confidence themselves. They start to gain trust in you instead of taking their own fear responsibility. How would you like it if a horse in a fear-inducing situation paid attention to what you were doing instead of coming up with its own ideas of problem solving like flight or fight? This breaks the old behavioral cycle and allows the animal to learn how the situation resolves itself in a peaceful mood. The learning effect is thus a lasting one, since the animal has experienced the change in the situation itself. This is what I love most about the trust technique, and this directly leads us to the third principle of the trust technique, what is trusted cooperation. Creative action and realization learning lead to a certain level of cooperation, to a better relationship between the animal and the human. Trust and confidence are already built. The sensitivity went from a negative focus to a positive one. Now comes a point where the trust itself is a support mechanism. When there is a situation where the animal is anxious, it turns to the human for support. In trusted cooperation, we work with gratitude. Sometimes we forget what it means that animals find pleasure in fulfilling our wishes. Often they are punished when they do not fulfill the wish. The praise, however, is often forgotten. The gratitude can be a simple thank you, a nice scratch, or even a food reward. Especially in the horsemanship business, this is not appreciated, because it often leads to disrespectful behavior of the horse. However, this only happens when the thinking level is high, praised at the wrong time, with too much energy or too often. Animals do what we ask for if we have a clear communication, a clear body language, and if it makes sense to them. If they don't follow our instructions, they either experience fear or pain, or their body is simply unable to fulfill our request. With the trust technique, the communication between you and your animal is crystal clear, and you will notice the difference between these options. Working with low thinking levels and what we call the present moment, taking responsibility for the animal in fearful situations, and working with gratitude opens a two-way communication, which is very grounded and real. You can share feelings on a very deep level. It's a two-way intuitive connection for which I'm very grateful to Shelley and James, having experienced it myself through application of the trust technique. I am the owner of a very sensitive mare that attacked humans when pressured. Pressure and release did not work for her. Through the trust technique, I have reached a new level of communication, including discovering her painful knee and working with her to develop a training program that helps her and that she agrees with because it is fun. She trusts me, and she always has the opportunity to show me her pain when an exercise is beyond her capabilities. The trust technique builds a really strong healing environment for both the animals and the humans, which is perfect for me as long as I always wanted to combine these two aspects. In my work with problem horses, I have encountered the same problem over and over again. Sometimes, and even more often than some people might think, the problem is not just with the horse, but arises out of traumas experienced by the human. With the trust technique, it doesn't matter where the problem comes from, because the healing takes place for everyone involved and leads to a long-term change, including lifestyle and general view of life. This opens up the possibility of animal-assisted healing by including a person who is not the owner of the animal, but who is in need of healing themselves with peace of mind. I am so grateful to have found the trust technique, as it opens up so many new possibilities. By changing the attitude and mindset of the pet owners, there is an overall improvement in their situation. Not only is the one problem treated, but the whole environment is changed. This leads to a more peaceful environment, and new problems do not occur as easily. Keeping your emotions in check is the key to a good animal-human relationship. If your thinking level is low, you can be not only the animal's guide, but a teacher who solves problems in a way that animals admire and want to imitate. As mentioned earlier, they will turn to you when they run into trouble and first see how you would solve the problem. It is so important to have gratitude for what animals do for us. They often follow our instructions without having the understanding of the meaning behind what we are asking them to do. And in the horse world, that is often completely against their own needs as an escaped animal. However, with clear communication, anything is possible. The animals confide in us, we listen to each other, and this in turn opens the door to another possibility of the trust technique, the animal communication. Through the condition in which we put ourselves and the animals, a two-way communication is made possible. If we only think about what we want from the animal, it can sense our thoughts and respond to our instruction. That sounds impossible? With the trust technique, it becomes truth. In turn, it can also communicate with us, as a clear level of communication is created based on trust and respect. Some horses point their nose at a sore spot or lift up a lame leg to alert us to their discomfort. There is usually no room for this in a training session. Both the trainer and the horse are busy with their thoughts. Here, however, completely different conditions are created by applying creative reaction and realization learning, which both lead to trusted cooperation, animal communication, and a really profound and satisfying relationship between you and your pet. I hope I could give you a short introduction to the work with the trust technique, which I hope to be able to practice soon on my just acquired property in the Mühlviertel in Austria. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you and goodbye.